Alright, my babies. Today's this video is calm the waves in your mind. Then your mind will reflect your surroundings just like a mirror. Funny, today I was actually writing about uh, the parable, or just one of those quotes, Zen Buddhist quotes. It's like the wild geese don't care to cast their reflection on the lake, and the lake doesn't mind. Let me check it. The idea is wild geese don't care to cast their reflection on a lake, and shit is small, and the lake doesn't care to remember it, right? And here we go, reflect on water. Then, never mind, I got it. The reason I say that is because it's funny because you see the swan or the goose kind of like flying, and because water is always kind of like moving, and it's always moving, that's the beauty of it, like it's almost always moving, because wind impacts it, like fish impact it, and everything in between kind of like, just explore these structures and allow for. Why am I thinking of tuna fish swimming close to the shore without actually without fucking with the surface? But yeah, bugs, whatever. It's just like and water basically is just kind of like that. I think water is how life is transferred from like one state to another. But calming the waves of your mind is the same as, again, I think like it's the difference between an ocean, which is basically like an ocean that's stormy with high waves and a whole lot of shit, is basically one with the extreme state, is basically one where there's clouds and there's kind of like all kinds of shit going down on it, and you can genuinely just see water, I feel like, in its most intense form. And I'm actually looking at, because it's the same water, right? It's the same transparent water. But if you look at the ocean when there's kind of like, well, if you look at the sea when there's no cloud in the sky, it reflects the ozone layer, which is also kind of like the sun's light hitting on one side, and so the sky turns blue, and because the rest of the colors are kind of like, from a prism's perspective, the rest of the colors are kind of like, dissipate into like fucking space, or block at the very least space. So like we get to look at the sky and we think it's blue. Sometimes it looks a bit greenish, and sometimes based on where the sun is, it looks a bit reddish, orangish. And all of these are kind of like the different layers of how the sea would look like if there was no fucking clouds, because like there's nothing blocking basically the water. So the transparent form of the water reflects everything that's above it, or that kind of like everything that projects itself on it, right? Yet again, like we're the ones looking at the water, so we're kind of like projecting our own image of it and seeing it get painted by what the sun is actually projecting. It's that fucking beautiful. Though, moving forward, the reason I'm talking about this is because if you calm the waves in your mind, and again, I do not necessarily know if this is something that I wrote or not, but it doesn't very much has the I'm inspired feel. Like I saw somebody say it and I go like, oh, it's interesting, or I kind of like was like thinking about the correlation between like how ideas kind of like become the random waves in our heads. And it's funny because in truth, it's the simple ways that we visualize, narrate, or experience. And when I say experience, I'm just talking about feelings. We have to correlate to something, or else we don't really understand. And the reason why I say that is because, like, if you imagine how kids look like when they're how kids see the world when they're kids, and they're just kind of like fully trying to explore. Habiba, I just remembered my cousin. I don't know if I miss her. I haven't seen her in 3 years. But I do actually love her. My cousin's daughter, but I genuinely love her, so I'm not sure. So the idea is that interaction that we have with the world kind of always gives us points of reference. So, but we as human beings kind of have these, like whatever kind of like it triggers my mind to kind of like start moving or start jumping or start getting excited. And again, like, excited and anxiety are the same feeling. It's just with different. Anxiety is a bit more leaning towards why is this happening versus like, oh my God, this is happening, right? It's kind of like, it's energy, and the energy kind of like moves. The same like energy that kind of like moves the ocean. Oh, the energy that moves the ocean is kind of like different than the energy that moves the waters, the rivers, or it's different than the energy that moves the clouds. But it's energy, right? It's just kind of like expressed a certain kind of way or differently, I guess. It's the same energy, it's a different expression of it. That sounds better. So the idea behind basically are the waves of my mind. Those are the thoughts basically of my mind that keep coming and going, like chasing each other, and this leads to this and this and this and this, and briefly crashes on the shore, versus this leads to this and that, and then it kind of like fades into the ocean itself. And in a way, there's kind of like the wave that comes to shore that causes noise and like moves the sand around, and there's the wave that kind of goes, oh, useless, or I didn't do anything. And there's the waves that kind of like carve the entire fucking, like, they're the storms maybe, or just not the waves, what's it called? I forgot. But anyways, the tides, right? It's like we're still talking about water, right? And the rivers that carve the mountains and shit like this. So, just like the water, the sea, the ocean, it's like whenever it's a clear sky, the ocean is not as wavy. It's not as excited. Well, why? Well, mainly because, like, for the sky to be clear, then the winds were clear, or it's kind of like, the elements are not disturbed, or it's just kind of like, the moon is not really everywhere. All of these are kind of like contributors, because the moon has its gravity, and the wind kind of like, brings clouds, and the sun is too hot and kind of like evaporates clouds and allows them to kind of like condense and like become thick and like form certain kind of like, catastrophic storms. Like, there are storms literally that if a plane goes into, it gets shot upwards and they die and whatever. It's super beautiful. And so a clear sky is a symbol that there are no kind of like thoughts. And that's kind of like maybe a thing, because like, it's you that kind of brings these thoughts. It's your feelings, right? It's the way you're seeing the world, or it's the way you're interacting with the world that brings your mind into kind of like that state of like things all over the place. And when that happens, you can't truly, genuinely reflect on what's happening. The best you could do is react. And when you say calm the waves in your mind, you're kind of walking backwards. It's like if you calm the waves in the ocean, what happens is the storm kind of like leaves. But no, the waves calm after the storm leaves. So when we're reflecting on calm the waves of your mind, it's not us going and then kind of like trying to calm a thought, because by doing that, what you're doing is you're actually instigating it. But in order to calm a wave in your mind, you allow the thought, just like a storm, to like go to pass through. You allow itself to deplete its energy. But you have to be there observing it, right? Like, or else it would not deplete its energy. I don't know. I once met a child, and my friend had a child, and I was there. And what happened was the child kind of like was like throwing a fit, and the mother ignored him. And he kept throwing a fit for like 5-10 minutes. And And then basically I looked at her because like he'd get more frustrated every single time. Like he clearly wanted attention, and she was trying to practice like the whole I'm trying to teach him to get over it, or I'm like always going to be there, whatever it is. I remember I asked him a question. I just kind of like looked at him and was like, no, what is it that you're doing that you can't tell us you want out of it and have a conversation with us? I remember asking him something like that. Be like, and why can't you just talk to us about it and listen if we say yes or no and ask us why, like, right, and actually initiate the conversation. It was a 3-year-old kid, but it's nice. Why? Because they can kind of interacting with, and for me, I'm interacting with them in a more like I see you, I understand you, but I also have a say in it. It's not just what you want. And I think that's where we kind of like, that's where the delivery kicks in, because like, you want something, I don't want to do it. The same way if I ask you to do something you don't want to do it, you don't do it. You throw a fucking fit. So like, how can we reach a mutual respect? And it's beautiful because the minute I ask him that question, he kind of like looks at me, and then he kind of like, he tries to tell me what's on their mind. And then suddenly he kind of like is more relaxed. And then I remember we kind of like pushed it an hour or something until I left, so he can have a conversation with the mother. And he was perfectly fine with that, and just chilled with us for a while, and we included him in the conversation. And it was one of those kind of like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, it's not the end of the world kind of thing, right? But I'm there for you, and like it's not just your world. I'm here, and then I'm sharing the world. And that's basically our mind, right? Because like when a thought happens and the storm is kind of like brewing, and it's brewing because the energy is kind of like piling up. And that's what happens. I wrote once an article. You know what? I feel this is a good end for this video, and I'm going to do a part 2. Fucking love you guys.